Welcome to the Grand Review. This is the podcast where we talk about movie reviews, movie news, and sometimes just, I don't know, Nicolas Cage.
Random stuff.
Random stuff.
Gerbils.
Gerbils. I am your host, the man who mostly just looks like a CGI thing lurking around in the background instead of something real. Garrett Ray joining me as always. It's the man whose blood could be black. I don't know. I've never seen him bleed. It's Andy Delia.
Thanks, Garrett.
What color is your blood?
Red.
Oh, good. That's the right color. That's the color it should
Yes.
be. Although it shows blue in our, like when we look at our skin, because of the way that light reflects off of our skin, we see blue on our veins.
It's deoxygenated. That's
and that
why.
too, yeah. And I always thought that was very interesting. Speaking of interesting, not this week's movie, let's...
We're just going to start right off on this, aren't we?
All right. So look, if you haven't joined us before, first off, thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Basically, how this works, we're going to do spoiler free up front, so we'll let you know if this movie is worth your time, and then we'll get into spoilers and talk a little bit more in depth, and probably have to get Andy some blood pressure medication. This week, we are talking about The Crow 2024. Do not mistake this for the old one. Not that you could. So yeah, basically we're coming at this from two different angles right now. So I didn't get a chance to watch the original yet. You are a lover of the original film.
Yes. I really do like the original one.
So we've got, I'm just looking at this as a movie as it is. You're looking at it as another adaptation of a story you hold near and dear. So, so I think this will be an interesting conversation. And we always start with what your thoughts are, Andy. So what are your thoughts?
Okay.
Andy, you can't say that. Not on record.
Okay. So, point blank, I hated this movie. Absolutely. I couldn't wait for this film to be done. And if it wasn't for the fact that we were recording this podcast today, I would have walked out of it.
Yeah, I would have too. I think, I don't walk out of movies. I'll sit through the whole thing, even if I'm like,
even
this is awful, because I just want to see
through Borderlands.
Yeah, exactly. But at least Borderlands, I'm like, I can tell there's a movie under there somewhere.
Right.
If you scratch enough and sniff,
right,
you might get a hint of cinema. But like, but this was a scratch and sniff sticker that was made on top of a pile of dog vomit. It's so. I mean, okay, I'm being more harsh than I actually felt about it, but the more I think about it, the more I'm just like,
oh no,
what a mess.
I absolutely and I was really trying to go into this with an open mind. I've been reading about this whole past week and just all the ugly, evil things that have been said about this, and I was like, well, it can't be that bad. And, really, are people comparing it too much to the original Brandon Lee one?
Yeah, I won't be doing that because I haven't seen it.
Okay, so that's... You need to watch the Brandon Lee one.
I do. But the only reason I didn't get to is because I love my wife very much, and I was helping her and helping my family with stuff this morning. So
that's more important.
True love
I get
makes you not have to see every movie on time.
Right. But, this... I was so enraged when we came out of that theater last night. It was so hard for me not to say anything. And as soon as you were out of earshot in the parking lot, I looked at Jessica and said, I absolutely hated this. And Jessica just started laughing.
I'm sure she did.
Because poor woman that, my wife loves me dearly and I love her. And for her to actually sit through this with me, she gets an extra, loving this week because
that's brownie points up the wazoo.
Yeah, and she fell asleep. Which
gosh, I wish I could have been her.
Meanwhile, I didn't either. I stayed awake through the whole. And
I thought you were going to, honestly, because you were very quiet, and I was just like, that's either the most dead silent seething I've ever heard someone do, or this man has escaped into a coma to avoid having to watch the rest of this.
I can't believe what they take a story that's darkly romantic, about love and about death and about avenging angels and just everything that I think is just magical, in my opinion, and destroyed it.
Yeah.
And made it evil, ugly, cruel, and just not fun to watch at all.
Yeah.
And just amazing how so far off the radar this thing is from the, because I've read the original like graphic novels to this too.
Yeah. Okay,
I've
cool.
liked them that much.
Yeah.
And I guess I have to wait for a lot of my complaints when we get to spoilers because there's a lot of them. But seriously, do not waste your time with this thing.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. I think, and again, no connection to the original story, but no connection to this one either, because this movie has a plot, but it is very, very light on actual story or character. It is bland. I think overall it's self-indulgent in the way that a filmmaker can be when they feel like they're the next Tarantino, but they haven't learned restraint in any way, shape, or form. 35% of this movie is people walking slowly. And that's way too much of a movie to have people walking slowly.
Yeah.
Also, does the Crow not know how to take a cab when he needs to get somewhere quick? You're avenging your dead partner, and you're going to walk down the street? Shut up. Get a cab. It's all the way across town. Like you don't live anywhere near the opera. I know you don't. And so yeah, I have some. So I wrote my notes down before reading any other reviews and stuff. Yeah, I don't care about these characters at all.
Right?
It is. I don't care about I don't care about Eric. I don't care about Shelley. I don't care about Vincent. I don't care about Zadie, which is a ridiculous name. Anyway, I don't care.
Was that Danny Houston's character?
Vincent Rogue is Danny Houston.
Yeah, wait till I get into that one.
Overall, it's very gory and violent, but only at the end.
But unnecessarily as well.
Yeah.
Like the original one's violent, but it's not blood splattering everywhere violent.
This is the most blood I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure you were uncomfortable sitting there watching.
Well, no, not really. I was looking at the VFX work, so I was actually
but the effects work wasn't that good.
Okay, so yes and no. When this is not a spoiler. It's basically the whole story of the Crow. He heals from being damaged or whatever.
Right.
I thought the first couple of like his skin knitting itself back together and stuff looked really cool. I liked that because it was like, Wolverine, it just kind of goes, whoop, but this one, it was like knitting itself. And I thought that was really neat.
And that's what it is in the original one. Like there's a part in the original one where Brandon Lee's gets shot in the hand and it's like the Wolverine thing. It just heals over and whoop, it's done.
Yeah.
Which there's something to be said that more for like the stitching of the tissue and everything together. Yeah, that does look kind of neat. I have to admit that. But some of the other jaw slicing and just some of the other, that whole opera house thing is just utterly ridiculous.
And it is
unnecessary.
We'll talk about this in spoilers. I think it's the best scene in the movie, but that's sad. like
that's yeah.
like it's a very low bar. Like at the very least, it was the most interesting thing to watch in the movie.
This film never should have been released.
Normally, I'm all for it. Because here's the thing. Making movies is really hard. It's really freaking hard. No one sets out to make something bad. And even the stuff that is not good, Monster Trucks, for instance, not a good movie. But
Aliens in the Attic. Aliens in
the Attic. But Monster Trucks has Thomas Lennon hamming it up, and I love that. So it's like there's just something about like going, well, let us see what it was, But this one has no redeeming quality whatsoever from a filmmaking standpoint.
And I'm sorry, if you're going to go to the afterlife to save your beloved, Shelley Webster in this was not worth it.
Yeah, okay. The romance is like a big part. It's like the first third of the movie is their romance. This shows me that the director has no idea what love is. He has no idea what it is.
And is confused with anger.
Yes. It's
to the point that the lines pretty much blurred.
And okay, so we should talk about who the director is. The director is Rupert Sanders, who made Snow White and the Huntsman, which
sucked.
is Chris Hemsworth and Charlize Theron and Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
And That was a bad movie. It was
Yeah?
it was like fun and schlocky in a way that at least,
But it wasn't good.
But it wasn't good.
I never saw the sequel just because I never liked the first one.
Well, and it wasn't even directed by by the same person, and Kristen
that's
Stewart's not in it, and
Maybe I should give that a chance then.
It
'cause
might be
I
better.
don't like Kristen Stewart, that's for sure.
and then he did Ghost in the Shell, and
That
Ghost in
sucked.
the Shell is I've actually seen the original anime.
So have I.
And so looking at that story, knowing how interesting that whole concept is, and this idea of what makes you who you are, and finding that identity and all that stuff, and then just turning it into Scarlett Johansson got robot boobies. Like
Yeah.
that's all the movie was. It was embarrassing, and I was sitting there. I'm like, I just saw the other thing to prepare for watching this. But
it doesn't even scratch
not
the
good.
surface of really what that film is about.
No, it is only interested in the few visuals that were like really striking from the anime and using that in live action.
But it didn't even use like half of the stuff from the anime one. That's like the thing that stood out from the anime one too was when somebody takes a keyboard and the end of their fingers pops off and it's three little fingers on top of that and like typing hyper fast. And it was little things like that in the anime that I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard to do in a live action film, but there's even other things that weren't that hard to do that they could have done that was just ignored and just, no.
And the three little fingers thing, technically, not actually that difficult.
Oh, okay.
Like I can't say I could go do it myself on my mom's computer, in 20 minutes. But if you have the person hold their fingers out with tracking markers on it, you can track to that, and then you put the element in, and then you get a clean plate of the keyboard underneath so you can see through the fingers where they are. And that's actually pretty simple to do as far as VFX work stuff goes. You need to have a good 3D model, obviously, and know what you're doing.
Once again, Rupert's a hack.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's just... Man, it's...
So, and we were talking about this like off mic at the first, we've seen some bad movies this year, and namely to mind comes the Borderlands because that's the most recent one that we've seen that we just didn't care for. And so there's a difference in a danger with these directors. Like Eli Roth, I'm sure deep down knows he makes crap.
Probably, yeah.
Entertaining crap, but crap nonetheless.
Right.
And
or at the very least, he has a set of interests that he very much sticks to, and if you vibe with that, as the kids say, then you get your vibrations there in the Thanksgiving theater,
right? Actually, I like Thanksgiving,
and I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah,
but Rupert hasn't done that.
It's guys like this that make filmmaking dangerous because they think they're making these massive masterpieces that are not, and they're not even close.
The amount of long lingering shots that had no purpose, the movie drags on. It really drags, and
drones on too.
For a story that's about two people being killed and one person being sent back for revenge, like how can you make that boring? And Eric is incredibly inept in every way. Just through the whole thing, and on one hand, like I get that it's kind of the point is that he's not some superhero or whatever. He rises to the occasion, I guess. But then at the other hand,
but does he really?
No,
exactly. That's kind of
that's actually a plot point.
Like the one point where the ferryman, as I refer to him as, because there's no explanation to it. So I'm gathering that from everything that I've seen and read before. That he's like, well, you're a boy, you gave it a good shot, now you're gonna ascend, and then it kind of spirals, and he had it right on the head. Yeah, you're a boy that knows nothing, so we're wasting our time with you.
Absolutely.
And that's honestly end. That's it.
Just because you acknowledge the shortcomings of your own script does not mean that it's better.
No.
So basically, the story of this is paper thin, and you don't have to have a thick, meaty
even the original story is not complicated. It's very simple.
It doesn't have to be, but it's in the execution.
Right.
It's in the execution, not the executions. Although a couple more of those could have been fun. I don't know. There was nothing to grab onto throughout the entire runtime. There was nothing that made me go, I got to see how that works.
You didn't identify with the characters. You definitely didn't gravitate to them, feel sorry for them.
No.
Or not even a shred of empathy at all toward any of it.
And it's like I have actual I have experiences with people who I've loved in my life who we've lost to drugs, we've lost to alcohol, to getting into bad situations that they could have avoided and stuff. So it's not that I don't have empathy for people who end up in those situations, but these characters are so blasé and unlikable that I don't care about them.
Right.
I can feel empathy for their situation on a human level, but I know that it's not real, so I don't care at all about these individual characters.
Even how this whole thing starts is with Eric in rehab, and generally just kind of he's there.
Yeah.
And he's not even like he's being picked on by all, and which even goes to the first shots of these scenes is Eric as a young boy with the horse and the barbed wire. That makes absolutely no sense.
I guess it's supposed to be that his mother is passed out from an alcoholic binger on the inside, and the horse died because of that.
But then you're also like, who cares?
Not me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, look. Let's just get into spoilers because I can't do this anymore. I can't dance around stuff. This movie's bad. It's genuinely bad.
This is the worst film I've seen this year.
Absolutely. I mean, is Horizon overly long and confusing at times? Yes, but there are moments of brilliance in it.
Right, but at least it's beautifully shot. It's well executed.
Yeah.
Whereas I think, like we said before with Horizon, the problems with that are the editing, because it was probably much longer than it actually was. And if
I can't wait for the extended cut so I can spend an entire weekend watching people romp around the Old West.
And that's just part one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if there was anything cut out of this film, it was probably minimal. Like, it didn't seem like there was anything missing. It was just, that's the way it was made.
Yeah.
And it was intentionally uninteresting.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not so. If anybody hasn't seen the original Brandon Lee one, here I'm going to fill you in a little bit on this. So, Eric and Shelley's character in the original, he's a rock star, not even a rock star. He's in a band. They're up and coming. It's Devil's Night in Detroit, and this gang shows up that they're clearing the building to burn it to the ground. They're inhabiting an apartment and they're killed, so they can go ahead along with this, and there's profit to be made out of the burning the buildings in Detroit on Devil's Night. And they're just,
and some would argue there's still more profit to be made out of burning them down than using them now.
Right. And unfortunately, they're just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And Eric comes back a year later out of the grave to avenge his and Shelley's death, and goes after the gang and Endley, the main people in charge, which is a gangster called Top Dollar.
Okay.
And which is played beautifully by Michael Wincott. This is one of the best roles he ever did.
Okay.
And the gang even has like all these cool nicknames like T-Bird, Tintin, Fun Boy, but they're also despicable people that you want to see die.
Right, yeah.
And it's not overly gory. And every death scenes that happen when Eric takes on these people is some kind of imagery of a crow in the background. Like one, it's written in blood on the wall. The other, it's fire after this horrific like car wreck. And it's one of like the coolest things you'll ever see is Eric's like spraying lighter fluid on the ground and lights a match, and you just see the crow light up in flames like all over the ground. It's still like the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up just thinking about it. So there's that, and it's not overly gory. It's violent, yes. It's supposed to be, but it's not this bloodbath that's just utterly extreme and for no reason.
Yeah. And they spend way more time showing him kill people that we've never seen before than they do on any of the people that were like part of the whole reason that he's doing it.
The bad guys in this just come off as like Euro trash. They're not even interesting.
I saw someone had written out, there was like, this is a supposedly American city where everyone has some sort of European accent. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
So let's get into spoilers. Spoiler warnings. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Don't spend your time on this. If you do want to spend your time on this, watch the movie so you can come back and revel in sadness and anger with us. Oi, caramba.
When you go to Cinemark, after you watch it, ask for your money back because they'll give it to you.
Dude, let's talk about that real quick, actually, before we get into spoilers. I have many times on this show been like, why do people hate the movie theater? It's Cinemark. It's friggin' Cinemark's fault. It's an unbearably...
Oh, we're going to go down that rabbit hole briefly.
Gosh, it's such an unbearable place to be. The movie is supposed to start at 8:50. That's what it says.
Right.
Normally, you start the trailers right at 8:50. People kind of wander in, last minute stuff. They get set down, and boom, there's your opening graphic of the production company and whatever. Nope. Let's watch 30 minutes of trailers, and then when we finally turn the lights off, let's show you an ad for the theater you're already sitting in.
Yeah, but don't I kind of do that here for Grand Avenue?
No, I made that, so it's cool.
Okay.
It's such, and there's so many ads. There's so much stuff that they pile in front of this movie because you're a captive audience and you can't do anything about it. Has no respect for my time. It's 8:50 when I sat down to watch this movie, Monkey Fluffer. I want to go home.
Like, and it's almost 9:30 before the actual film started.
That is insane to me. It should not be a 40-minute lead time from when you said it started. And shut up, Cinemark.
You know, like, so what I do here at Grand Avenue is 15 minutes max.
And that is the perfect amount because it gets me hyped. I get to see some stuff that's coming, and then I'm in the movie.
And I also advertise for stuff that I'm pretty well sure we're going to play.
Yes.
Cinemark advertises for stuff that you know that you're not going to see here in Temple.
Yeah, for sure.
And I hate that.
It's just there's a master playlist that gets set up at headquarters, and they send it out to everyone, and they're just like, we don't have to do anything about it, so we don't care.
And that's where I don't respond to that because I'm in charge of that.
Yep.
I have full control. Have I made mistakes? Yes. But
who hasn't? But the thing is, what Cinemark's doing is not a mistake. It's an intentional jerk move. Anyway, come to Grand Avenue.
Yes, thank you.
Spoilers, let's do it.
Okay.
All right, where do you want to start?
About how this film should never have even been made?
Yeah.
Okay, so, the whole opening thing with the rehab, boring, uninteresting.
Not from the original story?
No, not from the original at all.
Not even from the comics?
It's not even in the comic book.
Okay, so just
like the original Brandon Lee one is probably one of the best comic adaptations you will ever see.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Outside of Sin City. Sin City is picture frame by picture frame, like every one of those storyboards.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to watch. Then The Crow was just about the same way. There's little things here and there that are embellished or not put into the film, but for time's sake and all of that, and just so the story flows a little bit better. And not that it doesn't flow in
but they're different mediums. A movie's different from a comic
hearing
book,
that James O'Barr was associated with this, who wrote the original graphic novel and a lot of those comic books, and he did the script for this? Or no, he didn't do the script. It was... His name is associated with this, and he should have it taken off.
I think he has distanced himself from it in the last couple of months.
He better.
If he hasn't already, he will be.
And just Alex Proyas, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, his whole diatribe on this is just... I read it before we watched the film last night. I was really trying to keep an open mind going into this, but no, it was dead on.
Yeah.
And, okay, so the opera house scene, absolutely worthless, insane.
See, that the reason I say that's the best part of the movie is because it's the only thing that was even slightly interesting.
And it's not that interesting.
No, it's just gory. Also, there's so many shots of Eric walking dead center up the same staircase that I'm just like, how did you fit more walking into this? It's a fight scene. You know what? 36%. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up.
And then the whole thing with Danny Houston's character, like generally being the devil, that's not in the original comic book. It's not in the original movie.
He's not the devil. He's made a deal with the devil.
They might as well. They pretty much imply that he is.
Because he says, "Look, I'm flesh and blood. I'm just an old man." He's made a trade for innocent souls for his, so that every time he sends one innocent soul, they go down to hell, and he gets to keep living. So he has to keep doing that. It's like re-upping your Disney Plus subscription, and so broke you.
Wow, and Disney's not even associated with this film.
Yeah,
even they were smart enough to not pick this one up. Lionsgate, what were you thinking?
I don't know. They must have picked it up before they saw it. Just said, grab that. We need something.
Yeah, because, there have been, with the Brandon Lee one, there was a second one called City of Angels that didn't do as well.
Yeah.
And not rightly so, because it's actually a decent film. It's much darker than the Brandon Lee one.
They don't have the budget for lights?
No. It's supposed to be set in like a little bit more into the future.
Gotcha.
A very dark, dismal, painted picture of Los Angeles.
Detroit.
Yeah. But there is one link between the two. The character of Sarah, when she's a little girl in the first one, and then she's actually grown up into an adult in the second one. And the whole story behind that was a father and son watch a gang hit, and then they no witnesses, so they kill this father and son, and the father comes back to avenge his
Gotcha.
it's probably like 8-year-old son that he was very close to.
So the crow is a mantle that's given to multiple people throughout these films.
Right. There was one of the comic books that I read that I thought was interesting about the American Indians. And a lot of imagery from that I just thought was amazing, that I would hope at some point
Is that what they based Johnny Depp's character on in The Lone Ranger? Because he has a crow on his head.
kind of. Okay, no, you're not far off.
I said it as a joke, and then I realized, oh, wait, that was the plot.
Actually, I kind of like The Lone Ranger.
I do too, but it is overly long. But
I think the only state that film did well in was Texas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I was running Marble Falls Theater at the time. We did huge for that. And then I saw like the worst opening. I'm like, really? You couldn't tell by my theater that weekend?
Yeah. It's such a weird... It's so weird to have a Disney movie where a big part of the plot is that someone's going to get their wing cut off. That's such an interesting bit of history to me. but yeah, it's got fun stuff. I mean, Gore Verbinski makes fun action scenes. He does. You can't argue that he doesn't, I don't think.
Yeah.
But look at us, just desperate to talk about anything that's not The Crow.
You're trash villains. You got to be kidding me.
Gosh. Okay, so yeah, he's Vincent Rogue is a man who's made a deal with the devil. He sends innocent souls to hell so that he can continue living. He has some of the most stupid, like the introduction to him. And look, Danny Huston, I can't remember how it's pronounced, but he's got a great screen presence, I think. He
always does.
He always does. But boy, his agent needs to find him a better movie.
Yeah.
Because first Origins, Wolverine, now this.
Yeah.
He's a good villain actor, but he always gets scripts where it's just like, that's it? That's what you did?
He's really good. I really do like this movie, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, with Simon Pegg. And he's the head of the magazine that Simon Pegg is working for. And he has that, he despises Simon Pegg's character and just absolutely hates what he stands for. And he's there, but he has to deal with him anyway. So this quiet contempt and everything that he has for this writer is really funny to watch. That it's at least it's more interesting than watching him in this.
Well, I've been on sets where I actually had to watch someone paint a wall, and it was more interesting than this.
Skinamarink was more interesting than this.
I took a dump that was more interesting than this last week. Yeah, his introduction in the movie, he comes in and he just starts monologuing about how he's killed hundreds of innocents just like you. And first off, the movie has a very funny idea of what innocent is.
Yeah, because these people aren't innocent.
They're drug addicts. They're
right.
partiers. And I know. Listen, everybody, I know. We're young, we're hip. It's 2024. Marijuana is good for your bunions or whatever. I know. I get it. You like drugs.
It's for my glaucoma.
It's for my glaucoma. But the reality is, it's these people who are very much living in a bad situation for the nows because they're wanting to get access to the drugs, or they think that this rich guy's an easy mark or whatever. They're criminals.
Right.
And so I don't know where the line is here, because the mythology and the I guess the religion of this movie is so weird and wonky.
how
because
is-
the devil exists.
And how is purgatory portrayed as a whole bunch of like this abandoned train yard with puddles?
Because you're going to, it's a way station, I guess, is the idea. Also, would you like to know who the man is in the train station?
Yeah.
His name is Kronos, which I believe is the god of time from some mythology.
There was also an angel named Kronos too, I believe.
In what?
I think I have seen something where there was.
Okay. Well, but he must be the god of time because at the end, when Eric completes his mission, the timeline resets and she lives and he doesn't. Mm-hmm. So,
Which is the best part of the film?
When he's dead?
No, the end.
Yes. But the whole thing is this. It's a confusing mythology that they built around this, where you both have to believe that the devil exists, and also everything aside from just the mention of the devil is this other mythology that's piled on top of it. And so I don't know what's good or bad or what's right or wrong in this universe. It is such a muddy kind of worldview that you can't. I'm not rooting for any of you.
Right.
None of you. It's because, like, I mean, I'm sorry. Crows are not necessarily the birds that I look at and go, yes, those are the things that signify hope. And so,
but the crow from the original one was supposed to be the crossover between the land of the living and the land of the dead, and that was the spirit animal that was taking Eric Draven from both of those. But the other thing is, in the original, every time Eric got shot or a point that he should be dead, he just gets back up and walks. He does not go back to the way station, fall through another puddle, come back again, which is dragged on screen time that's unnecessary.
Right.
And the point that I checked out is when Eric got shot in the stomach, falls into that bathtub, ends up in that way station again to be told, oh, well, yeah, you're just a boy and you really shouldn't go back. And I was like, okay, fine. End the movie there now so I can leave.
Right, yeah.
And I was ready to leave at that point.
And I think the point of that is that he messes it up by his love is not pure, they say, because he doubted her for one moment when he literally saw a video of her stabbing someone to death.
Yeah.
Which, first off, you'd have an immediate visceral reaction to that. It doesn't mean you don't love the person. But whatever. But the whole point of that, I guess, is that in that moment he decides, well, I've screwed that up. I'll sacrifice myself for her. Instead of getting to be with her, let me trade. Let me be, a sacrificial offering for her to come back if you'll let me go finish the job. Which is supposed to be the moment where they go, oh, he figured out how to love harder and love, love completely and selflessly. But at the same time, it's just like, no, he's just an idiot.
Yeah.
He's stupid.
And he, like, all the tattoos on anything, none of it like links to anything. None of it.
No, it just,
at least it's like, there's Memento where the tattoos on the guy's body meant something.
Yeah.
They were clues to a murder mystery that was never going to be solved.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it. And there was none of that in the original film either, like all these stupid tattoos over every. But I understand that's the culture now, and I'm fine with it. I don't have
it's alternate culture,
Right,
similar to
but
how it would have been with the original film.
the whole black blood and black eyes thing, and that was dumb.
Okay, I was wondering if that was like from the comics.
No,
Okay,
because the whole part in the original was when Eric is resurrected, comes back to the apartment where him and Shelley lived. He finds face paint that he used as the rock star that he was, and paints his face up and touches things that reminds him of Shelley, that gives him the energy and the anger and the pain to go on and finish what he needs to do to find peace for both of them in the afterlife.
Yeah.
And the end of the film in the original, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil it for you.
It's okay.
But
it's already been spoiled for me.
It's every, he has killed everybody that he needs to kill. He's at the grave. Shelley appears and comes to him, kisses him, and then the next thing you see, both of the graves filled in, and they're finally at peace. Uh-huh. And I really, I cry at the end of that film. Like and it's even harder knowing that Brandon Lee died on that, and it's so incredibly sad.
Yeah. I didn't feel nothing when this was over.
Yeah. I was like, I'm sorry, Garrett, I'm going to give you the money for the ticket.
Look, I think it's best if we both just forget about this whole experience afterwards. Don't worry about the money. Just well, let's not bring it up again. No, man, so I want to talk about the kind of pacing of it for a second, because
it's way off.
Far be it from me, if you've listened to this podcast, far be it from me to judge someone else's pacing. But the first third of the movie is us looking at these two people who are in a drug rehabilitation program just make out and have sex. Why are we watching so much of them having whoopee? That's not love, first off. That's lust. And then they try to, they're telling you that they're in love, but they never show anything that actually approaches what love really is.
Because they never shared anything about themselves, never shared anything about what they had gone through to get there.
They're entirely cagey with each other the whole time.
Right.
They are friends with benefits on a drug high.
Yeah.
That's all they are. So I don't care when... Also, did you know she was his fiance in this movie?
No.
That's on everything I've read. It's like he comes back to avenge his fiance. They never got engaged. There's no rings.
Well, at least that was in the original, though.
Well, it's not in this one.
Because they show the wedding planning, the part where Eric proposes to Shelley with all these candles, and they're supposed to be getting married. That's the thing that even makes it more tragic about the original one is they die the night before they're supposed to get married.
Yeah. This one, they just die...
randomly.
Yep.
Yeah. There's no significance to it at all.
None. The first part of this movie is all just them going, "Oh, look, you're beautifully damaged."
And Shelley's a horrible actress.
I did not like. Her name is FKA Twigs. I guess she's a musician or something.
Don't quit your day job, I guess.
She's reached number 16 on the UK albums chart.
And I think the only thing that kept me watching those things originally was Joy Division's use of the song at the beginning of that Distortion or Disorder, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Always love Joy Division. Great in Gothic films and stuff that's kind of depressing, just because the story of Joy Division is kind of depressing too. But that's the only thing that was kind of keeping my focus on the screen was hearing that song.
The music of this, man, they cut it off at weird points and it just ends. And it's supposed to be a smash transition, but it's more like, did you guys forget to fade out?
And the original soundtrack is still iconic. People still buy that to this day.
Yeah.
Because it's got The Cure, Pantera, Rage Against the Machine.
Yep.
One of the best Cure songs ever written, I believe. Burn. It's an awesome song. Yeah. And so it's kind of this mishmash of metal and alternative, but it's so wonderfully put together, and Jesus and Mary Chain is on that I love too. And this soundtrack sucks.
It's bad. And it's I wanted to and I have a hard time discussing soundtracks because I'm still listening to the same music I listened to in high school. I reached a certain level of stuff that I liked and I listened to that on repeat, and that's
not a bad thing, Garrett. I do the same thing.
And most new music that comes out, I'm just like, this is garbage.
Yeah,
I'm an old man on the inside.
Well,
I really
so
am.
you and I are very similar that way.
Yeah, we're both old men. But was this music? I don't know.
The Gary Newman song that's in it's not bad. I do like that song. And then there was one other song, but I still am trying to figure out who did it because there's no soundtrack release for this film.
Nope.
I found the listing of songs online, which was very easy to do, but I got to go through every song now and hunt it down to figure out which was the one that I liked.
It's not I don't think it's necessarily that it didn't fit for the tone of the characters.
They should just use Joy Division throughout the entire film.
What they should have done is gone home and not made this. It's such a weird thing.
It's a mess
to listen to, and the editing is it's self-indulgent. It's self-indulgent and sometimes choppy. And look, a long lingering shot can work. Okay, so let's take a specific scene. Let's do a scene study here.
Okay.
There's the scene where after he's come back, he goes back to the first apartment where they were hiding out after the escape from Alcatraz.
Okay.
And they first off, that's never a problem again. Weird. Why even set that whole thing up like that then? But Chekhov's gun, anyone? But he goes back to that apartment and he's walking through this place, and they do these cuts to he touches the jacket. And they cut to the scene from earlier of them having whoopee and taking off the jacket. And then they keep cutting back and forth to show flashbacks. And I'm like, that's not how you do this. You want to do a super long, indulgent scene like this? What you need is a single camera on a gimbal or on a Steadicam. And you walk through and you show him looking at things as he walks through. And we remember what it is. And you do something to show him like getting more and more distraught as he goes through that space.
And that's where it shows that in the original one much better. Because it's the same thing that's done, but it's done 20 times better in the original one.
Yeah. I just, like, if it was going to be that slow-paced, you do it in a single shot, I would think.
Right.
I would think you do that, and you do it in a way that gives your actor a chance to, as they go through this place, to kind of break down, and as all of these memories flood back and he thinks about what he lost, like, that he gets to the point where he's not, at the end, he's not sitting there after having watched the video. He's not sitting there, pretty cool guy like in the
with no emotion or anything on his face either, which is even more like troubling to me.
This man went to the Anakin Skywalker School of Acting. Unfortunately, I'm not the first person to realize that, but he sounded like Anakin Skywalker half the movie to me.
Well, he kind of looks like Hayden Christensen.
It does too, yeah. But at least with Hayden Christensen, I'm just like, he was Anakin, so but with this guy,
he's only ever done one film outside of the Star Wars films that I liked.
Was it Jumper?
No, I hate that.
You
movie.
hate Jumper?
Yeah, I didn't like it at all.
I love the teleportation in Jumper. It looks
the
cool.
idea for that film is great, but it's a mess.
All right. I don't know what executives are listening to this, but I want to do Jumper. Please don't pull a wrinkle in time on me. Let me make Jumper. I can make Jumper good.
Okay.
But yeah, I just... This guy, Bill Skarsgård, has done a lot of, very, very interesting performances in his career.
Pennywise.
And this just shows like
not it.
I don't know if it's direction or if it's acting. And that's the hard part is sometimes actors they're making choices and the directors will go, no, I have this vision for this thing and I need you to play it more like this. And sometimes the actor wins out and their choice was wrong. It's hard to say whose
This
fault
is the second bad film in a row for him because he did one earlier this summer or springtime called Boy Kills World.
Yes.
That bombed horribly too.
I heard that people liked that one though. Like it bombed, but people who saw it were like, it was really cool, like kind of like Monkey Man had kind of that, it has a similar feel. And so Monkey Man's actually a really good point of reference for this. Monkey Man's how you do this.
Right.
This is no Monkey Man.
No.
This is monkey business.
No, Monkey Man was much more interesting.
Monkey Man, it's brutal, and every time he fights someone, again, he's not facing nameless thugs, and that's your big action scene. He's facing people who are part of the organization, who are part of this whole thing, and he's going after these individuals and fighting. He fights through some nameless thugs, sure, but you already know that they're in on the whole thing. And it's not just, these guys in suits have guns, I have to kill them. It's that guy absolutely molested someone. So I want to see him get hit with a microwave.
Right.
That's awesome. And in this one, I'm just like, is this guy
his face
private?
burned with a bottle of chili sauce.
So good.
That's like one of the best scenes I love from that movie.
Or the bathroom scene where he's fighting and there's the fish tank and all that stuff. Like, all of that's so good. And it gets to that point where I think it's trying to be a very realistic sort of struggle in the fact that they're not pulling, big superhero moves or whatever. So I think the intention was to choreograph it in such a way that it is actually sort of gritty and realistic, but it also has no energy.
Yeah.
For all the blood splatter and all of the gunshots and everything that's going on, it's incredibly... sterile is not the right word. I'm thinking more of like stagnant.
Yeah.
It's a stagnant action scene somehow. And look, I don't even know how you do it better. I don't. I couldn't tell you like shot for shot because I can't remember this.
There
movie.
there is no opera house scene too in the original either.
Yeah,
which is, and I'm sorry, but here's that whole opera house thing. The other thing that bothers me too is all these gunshots and everything going on. Nobody hears this.
Nope.
The orchestra is not that loud. I'm sorry.
And they try to match it up where the music swells and some of the action is set to the beat of the opera music.
But it's not done well.
But it's not done well. It was more like I was going, oh, they tried to do that.
And I was like, well, wait till this is over. People got a big mess that they're going to walk out to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I did like the moment where he walks out and he throws those two heads into the crowd.
I thought that was stupid.
It was stupid, but at least it was like, okay, he's doing something.
But
cinematic.
once again, he's standing there, emotionless robot.
Yeah.
Scarecrow, not the scarecrow.
What's the lady's name? Marion. When she sees him, she goes, "You have that same look in his eyes." I was like, boredom. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, the same look that we had while watching this.
Yes, I was. Oh gosh, I wanted to go and take a nappy poo so bad. I was getting distracted the whole way through because there's an actor. You've seen Flubber, right?
The Robin Williams one?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen Flubber?
No.
Okay. All
I
right.
was never a big fan of.
You know who Ted Levine is?
Yeah.
Okay. So from what am I thinking of? It's Monk, and he was in Shutter Island too.
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs. He was in Wild Wild West. I forgot he was in that.
Nowhere to Run.
He was in Heat.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah. So and I'll this guy. You've seen his face.
Yeah.
The guy who's like constantly with Marion, I kept going, is that Ted Levine?
No,
it's not. It's not, but it looks kind of like
once
him.
again, another Euro trash.
I was sitting there for the entirety of this movie going, I should watch Flubber again.
It almost looked like Udo Kier is who he reminded me of.
I have no idea who that is. Udo Kier?
Yeah. He's an old time, like he's in Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh, yeah, it kind of looks like him too. Like if those two guys had their bodies like twisted together in some sort of The Fly experiment
with a fake tan.
Yeah. So if Donald Trump, Udo Kier, and Ted Levine were all stuck in The Fly machine, you would get this guy. Sorry, I could have said Snooki,
but then
do people remember Snooki?
Jersey Shore, I
can't. It was a nightmare.
No.
Although I'd rather watch Jersey Shore than this again, if I'm honest.
And there's characters in this that I don't understand why they come in and exit just as fast as like Dom.
Yeah, Dom's just there.
What's the point of all that?
Chance.
Yeah.
Which is their tattoo artist friend who look like we cut from them going, oh, we'll hide out in this apartment, and then they do the devil's tango, and then they go out and they're just swimming and stuff, and she's like, oh, don't want it to end, and he's like, it doesn't have to, baby, we can live like this all the time. And then where are you hiding? Are you hiding? You've got a chain. They make a big point about when they go back to his apartment after Dom comes and warns her. They make a big point about him locking up the chain to the apartment or whatever. But like then that never plays in it. Chekhov's gun, anyone? I mean, seriously, you keep setting things up and it doesn't have a payoff. It doesn't do any, like, they should have died in there because he couldn't get, like, they took the key or whatever, he lost it in a scuffle, and then they light the place on fire and he can't get out because he's locked.
I've talked about that in the podcast before, is like, I hate films that they introduce something and they just drop it, they don't follow through with it, and this film is filled of that.
It's oh my gosh. We walked into that theater and watched 2 hours of setup that didn't mean anything.
Right. Yeah.
And then 5 minutes of gory, that was gross. I did like that he cut that guy's jaw off. It was unnecessary, but it was just like, yeah, it's probably what I'd do there.
It's not what I was in the mood to see though. That was it's not like I'm against violence, blood, action, that kind of things. Like I really do. I know. Like those things.
I've seen what you do when you check all the people's work after their shift is over. No, I'm just kidding.
But in this, I just have such a fondness for the original one, and it does all those things without doing those things. That why do you have to really mess with that and turn it into a bloodbath?
Right. Yeah. It is. I mean, pools of blood. And then
Yeah.
every time he gets shot, black blood splurts out of him. You can see it splatter all over the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, look, if you want a good opera scene, go watch Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
It's got a great scene in there. This has nothing.
Or even Godfather 3 has an even better opera scene.
Or even the opera. And I don't want to watch the opera, but I'd rather sit through an opera than this, because at least like
I like opera.
something's
though.
happening.
There's actually there's some good operas that are very interesting and very dark, like Mozart's Don Giovanni.
Don't know it.
Like
I actually
extremely
don't know
dark.
any opera stuff.
Yes, that's
Surprising.
no, not really, but
You uncultured swine.
I'm not going to go that far. It's just it's something that I learned when I was younger, that I went to a dress rehearsal when I was in school and just kind of fell in love with it from there, because I just love the music, and even
cool.
though I don't understand a lot of it.
Oh yeah, it's Latin basically most of the time, right?
Italian.
Yeah. Oh, even worse. They were part of the Axis powers, so that's basically Hitler's tongue, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I am Italian. Thank you very much. Are you going to start calling me Mussolini?
No,
Okay, good.
he was higher up than you. You're more of a mid.
I'm a mid-level like crime boss.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop there. I'm so
Okay.
sorry. I backed myself into this corner and I couldn't get out.
Here, let me hand you this shovel.
Okay, thank you. I'd love to have one. I've been doing it with my fingernails this whole time. Yeah, this movie really it loves to take its time on the wrong things. I think is kind of, it takes its time on the gore. And look, I don't necessarily have a problem with this being a movie that has gore in it. It's about
Right.
brutal, angry revenge. I think that's fitting thematically, but it's like it's again, it's self-indulgent with it.
Yeah.
And it thinks that because it does that at the end, that it makes up for the fact that the hour and a half before that is complete useless
Devoid.
crap. It has no excitement, no action. I mean, if you've ever accidentally put a bag on your head like I did as a child, you do panic a little bit when you see someone trying to breathe through a bag. I was not a smart kid. Or a smart adult. But that was the most exciting thing that happens. And it's just like,
But I've seen better uses of that too. Like Ridley Scott's Black Rain, the part where Michael Douglas is hunting down a crime boss in Japan, or actually he's over in New York, just shot a couple of guys at the lunch table. They follow him and they're in a slaughterhouse, and Michael Douglas is looking for the guy, and he throws a plastic bag around his head. That seems more interesting than this is.
yeah. Also, Shelley had her hands on the guy's arm. All she had to do was lift a pinky and poke.
Well, I
And
guess
she
she
could
was
breathe.
too anorexic to figure that out.
Maybe so. Okay, is the concept of this that this guy gets people to work for him by offering them a better life full of opera? Is that the... Like
I really wasn't sure about that either, because there was that young ingenue that came to him that, once she figures out who he is too, but yet she doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, she looks scared, and then that's the last we see
So
of her.
once again, it's something that started, dropped, not explained.
Yeah.
And just suck it, Rupert.
It's... Did they cut out the comeuppance for that? Like, no, because the end too, when he finally confronts Vincent, he asks him, "Who are you?" It's just like, you should have known already, for one, before you came to kill the man.
And once that ending is just so anticlimactic.
Yeah, so they dive through a mirror. Vincent. Okay, hold on. We got to back up for a second. We got to back up because this doesn't make any sense. Vincent wants the power to escape death. You have it.
Yeah. So what more?
You're
do you
hundreds
need?
of years old. But because he doesn't want to kill innocent people anymore? You're not convincing me that he cares.
But once again, we already established that these people that he's killing are not really innocent.
Right. They're just not the devil's mouthpiece.
Right.
Which so many jokes I could make that would be politically incorrect. But it was so frustrating because it's like, I think what he was trying to say at the end was like, he wants the power to live on without having to do the sacrifices and stuff. But like he just has to talk in their ear. Like, it's not even a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, but I never understood the concept of immortality to me. Because I would never want to live forever. See, like, people I love live and die and keep going through that constantly over years and years and years and centuries.
Right, yeah.
So why would you want to put yourself through that? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, the only thing I can think of that would make it make any sense is if you do it, if early enough you make the deal, you never have to have a colonoscopy. If you do it before you're 40, you can avoid colonoscopies entirely.
Yeah, but
that's the only thing I can think of.
The drugs they give you for that to knock you out there are awesome. You get the best sleep ever.
Yeah, but it's the prep work before that that's hell.
It's not that bad.
That's not what Bill Engvall's stand-up special told me when I was 12.
Yeah,
so.
no, it's once again, truth and reality, or no,
hold on.
What is told in reality are kind of two different things.
Are you telling me that comedians would lie to make me laugh?
Yes.
How dare you? So yeah, he's got the power to keep living as long as he wants. But he wants the power to walk between worlds, I guess. But wait, no, that's not it, because he doesn't even know what the place is when they dive through the mirror and go into that place. So Eric can walk through one reality and the next because he's now got the black blood from the crows, which is not how crows work. And then, like, what is his goal? His goal is to not get canceled on Twitter.
Well, there's not going to be a sequel to this. I know that.
No, and they changed the ending specifically to set it up to be able to have a sequel.
Yeah,
much to Bill Skarsgård's trepidations.
But 18% Rotten Tomatoes right now is not good.
No, and it's not going to get saved by the audience score.
Nope.
This is not coming away unscathed.
And I think I said this earlier. I feel really sad for young audiences that are going to go see this, knowing nothing of the Brandon Lee, and thinking that this is really the methodology of The Crow when it's not. Yeah,
I mean the mythology and the story of this are so stupid that if I wasn't as well okay, let me rephrase. If I wasn't on the outskirts of being well versed in film history, I wouldn't know to go and look at the original at all. I would just be like, oh, well, if that's what that whole story is dumb, I don't even care about
see, that's
it.
where I'm for. I fill in the potholes.
Yes, and boy, it's like an Oklahoma road up in my brain. So yeah, it's frustrating to even as we're talking about this, like, I don't like what I'm saying, just to be clear. I'm not happy to dunk on this movie. It's just so easy. And that's not my fault. This is... There are times where you can tell a filmmaker's voice and their heart for the story that they're telling. And then there are times where you can tell the director has their head so far up their own butt that they're giving themselves a colonoscopy with their tongue. And that's what this guy's doing.
That's what this
sorry.
film is. Yeah.
There's maybe a less gross way to say that, but that was the funniest thing I had on the top of my head. But the reality is this does not reach a standard for storytelling that is very worthwhile.
Right.
It's just not. And it spends so much time on showing us two people making out with each other without ever and it wastes all of the time it has to set them up as the people we care about. Those scenes aren't even
sexy or erotic or tantalizing, and it's just
no. And I don't, man, I don't know. I don't care about these people.
Right. And that's the bottom line. Because at least like the original one, you cared about Shelley and Eric.
Yeah.
You really did, because it was tragic what happened to them.
Yeah.
This one, it's okay. So you're entitled brats that escaped rehab that, I'm trying to escape reality, so we're just going to run away together. And that's the easiest thing for us to fall in love and go, just like goo eyes at each other and like live happily ever after. No.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Love is not, we got to hide out for free in this rich apartment and do drugs and have whoopee. Love is, I'm going to work my rear end off to put you through college because it's what you want to do. That's love.
Right, because even if he was a working tattoo artist, I'd have a little bit more respect for him.
But apparently they're musicians. But he like says at the beginning that the stuff
But
he
they
writes
show
is not
nothing of
music.
that.
Right, but it's still in the synopsis tries to tell me that he is.
And that solely they're taking that from the original.
Yeah.
But at least in the original, they show band pictures of Eric's band. They show the one girl, Sarah, playing his record. They show him on the top of a building playing a guitar, which has like the score for that Graham Revell did for the original Crow is just amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch it this week because I want to come back and be, I like very shortly next week. I just want to be like, so this is what I learned. But yeah, why was that tub full? Why was that tub full in Chance's apartment?
Good question.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, it's also when he comes back the second time, he all of a sudden starts acting like just a spicy mouthed little. I got sass now because like he's sitting on the couch next to his dead friend, who he was freaking out about, and then this other guy that he shot in a completely different room, which means he dragged this body in here just to get the cigarette to him and be like, "Here, hold this," which we laughed, but because we were just like, "This is so stupid," and it doesn't match with his character at all.
No,
the characterization of Eric is dude who does thing I say in script.
Yeah.
Why did that happen? Because the script said so.
No.
Why did this happen? Well, because the script said so. Why were there lilies on the stage? Because the script said so. Why were the crows CGI all the time? Because birds suck.
See, and I'm hoping that this doesn't set us up for Nosferatu being so bad too.
I don't think it will be. It's Robert
different
Eggers.
director, yeah, and I really like him.
I think it will be a entirely different experience.
Well, if anything, it's got William Dafoe in it as Van Helsing, so that's going to be worth it alone.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe. The first time I came across him was Spider-Man. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, what a creepy man. I love it.
Streets of Fire was mine.
Yeah. Streets of Fire, and then there was another one he was in that was it Boondock Saints?
Yeah, he was in Boondock Saints. Another William Friedkin film that I like too, with William Pearson, To Live and Die in L.A. He was the bad guy in that.
Yeah. I've seen bits of that. I haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah. That's a good film.
Man, I'd like to watch a good film.
Anything but what we paid. And we paid.
I know.
And let me tell you how glad that I did not book this film here.
Yeah.
I dodged a bullet of epic proportions, I think, because then we would not have been able to open Afraid next week.
Yeah.
And we would have been stuck with this turkey for 2 weeks with like nobody coming to see it.
Afraid I'm more excited about because it looks like Smart House on spooky steroids.
Smart House versus Megan.
Yeah, basically. And you know what? That's such a schlocky, weird idea. I love it.
Yeah.
I loved Smart House as a kid. I was like that was I wouldn't say it's a horror movie, but that was the first like, ooh, spooky, scary.
Well, even
technology's killing us.
Even Afraid doesn't look like a horror film.
No, but I the whole thing of like, think of me like another mom. I was like, ooh, no. Like that strikes a chord in me.
Or,
the house should not be my mother.
Or another bad movie, Her.
Yeah. I avoided it because I just was like, I don't think I need to see this.
Yeah, you don't.
People will go nuts over that though, right? Like
people it won Academy Awards.
That's right. Yeah.
Spike Jonze for screenplay.
That's right. It is Spike Jonze, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's a terrible film. Or at least in my opinion.
I'll probably
Falling
never
in
watch
love
it.
with your operating system. Give me a break.
Well, hold on now. When I switched from PC to Mac, there was a little bit of time. I went out with OS X for a couple months, and I can see she had some very good points about.
Well, okay, and to give credit to it, at least in Her, the OS is voiced by Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
So okay.
But I mean, how funny would it have been if halfway through the movie he like did an update patch and accidentally installed the Samuel L. Jackson voice pack? I love you, mother.
So then, did you, for news, do you have about Lucy 2?
No, I don't.
Yeah, Luc Besson is making Lucy Part 2.
Well, we're in the news now. Forget. Why?
That's what I said.
I can understand a Valerian too, but Lucy?
Luke feels that there's more to be said to that story.
She's
No.
a computer. How
Right,
can there
there-
be more to say? Does she become human again?
It would have to be because Scarlett Johansson is already casted.
Why don't we just make Transcendence 2? You know what? Screw that. Screw all of that. G-Force 2. It's time. If we're gonna update this crap, we need G-Force 2.
It would get better attendance figures than some of the other ones.
Did you listen to last week's episode?
Part of it.
So when you, I was trying to figure out how to work G-Force in because I forgot to say it while we were recording.
Yeah.
When you do the quote that's get away from her, you beep. I went in and it's get away from her, you G-Force.
You're horrible.
Yeah. All right. Lucy 2. Yeah. When is that supposed to come?
There's no release date right now. It's pre-production.
Maybe it'll get canceled.
I hope so.
But things that won't be canceled, Pixar bosses revealed that the studio is already considering Inside Out 3 while working on Frozen 3 and 4 simultaneously.
Well, Frozen 3 already has a release date.
Right. And they're making 3 and 4 like back to back. Like they are basically one big story is what I understand.
Yeah, the sad point is that they'll do well. They will.
They will. Yeah. I mean, the kids are dumb. I think Inside Out 3 could be good.
It depends on where direction they're going to go with that because... Yeah, the teenage mind is an interesting thing from having a teenage daughter.
Right, yeah.
So I can see the potential for that, but there's only so far that it's going to be able to go. So are they going to go into like Herman's head where like Riley is an adult and have all those voices? Short-lived television show that was.
Herman, yeah. I have vague recollections of that.
I actually liked that show. I thought it was funny. That was Inside Out before Inside Out came along.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, Pixar is not necessarily new ideas there, but they are well executed.
Oh, but yet in the studio presentations, they claim they're full of original ideas. Liars.
I mean, look, Talking Cars is... It spawned a bunch of like
It's
rip-offs.
fine when that's the first one, but when you're at the fourth and you're saying it's an original movie, it's not.
Well, it is if they wrote a new script for it.
No. No.
Technically.
No.
Technically.
No.
Technically.
No.
Look
No.
if
Just stop. All right.
Jade Spader's coming back as Ultron.
Why?
Because there is a White Vision series coming. Did you watch WandaVision?
Yeah, I did.
So, there's White Vision at the end of that. They're doing a
Oh, okay.
series about the new Vision, and apparently Ultron's coming back, which I didn't like Age of Ultron at the time when I watched it. I was like, this kind of is not as good as the other stuff.
I thought it
but
was
looking
okay.
back at it, like James Spader was a great choice for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I actually really like that story now, way more than I used to. It's still, I don't think, is as strong as the first Avengers, or at the very least is as...
I still loved the Blacklist that he did, the show.
Yeah, and a lot of people have talked about that.
Yeah,
and I
that's-
just have not gotten around to it.
Just after like the third or fourth season, I kind of dropped out because it started to become less interesting. But
Yeah.
the whole first like 2 or 3 seasons of that are really good.
I need to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. James Spader, I think, incredible.
Yes.
You don't know me. I'm the Lizard King.
There's a good film that he did called Bad Influence with Rob Lowe. That was one of Curtis Hansen's first films, the guy that made LA Confidential, who's now passed on, sadly. But that's a really cool movie. And James Spader is the good guy and Rob Lowe is the bad guy.
Now that's interesting.
And there is a funny part in that because they came out right around when Rob Lowe had that sex tape scandal. And there's a part where he looks at like a video camera and go, "Hey, nice camera." And it's hard to really not laugh at that.
I'm just trying to figure out if Rob Lowe ages. I don't think he does. I think
Maybe he made the deal with the devil.
it's him and Tom Cruise seem to have never aged. Tom Cruise is starting to.
You
But
see Mission Impossible on an IMAX screen. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, now listen, everybody. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start filming in 2K again, okay? Because I cannot have a single wrinkle. Okay. I don't know if that's a good Tom Cruise, but I tried. I had more news.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, The Crow Thursday preview numbers were 650,000. Not doing well.
Ooh.
Thank goodness.
So people are smarter than we give them credit for. Great.
No, they just all happened to stumble into the right choice this time.
So that means Blink Twice actually did well?
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
That'll be on Amazon 2 weeks.
What won't?
No, that's really the plan for that film is a short theatrical and
Is
then
that Zoe Kravitz directing and Channing Tatum's in that?
Yes. It looks weird.
Never even saw a trailer.
I never played a trailer for it here because I didn't think we'd get it.
That's why I haven't seen it then.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people going, this is a meandering mess, and people going, this is thrilling even if it's convoluted. And so it seems
I'll
to
watch
kind
it
of
when
like
it comes on
split.
Amazon, but I wasn't going to force people to watch it here.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And that's why I respect you, Andy.
And not 40 minutes of ad time and trailers. I respect people's time. It's valuable to them. That's why. And I do that for selfish reasons too, because I don't like sitting through a trailer pack more than 15 minutes long. So I figured almost everybody has to be along the same lines that I am. Mm-hmm. And that's how I'm going to do it.
Yep. And I think just stop going to chains. Come to Grand Avenue. So Beetlejuice.
I can't wait.
Tim Burton, I put this in here specifically for you.
Thank you.
Tim Burton promises that Beetlejuice is still politically incorrect and has not evolved.
I saw that.
Burton said, Michael Keaton and I both love the fact he was politically incorrect then, and he's politically incorrect now. I'm just laughing because somebody asked him the other day, Michael, how does Beetlejuice's character evolve? And we just started laughing because he doesn't evolve. That's the whole point.
And the other things I had read too is that he's not in the film as much as everybody thinks he is.
Yeah.
Because he was a secondary character even in the original film.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
he had 17 minutes of screen time.
Right. And they're saying it's almost the same in this one. Yeah. And then the other thing is Monica Bellucci's character is his wife. That from the first one, when he's supposed to marry Lydia Dietz close to the end, he takes a finger out of his pocket from his ex-wife.
I've seen
the
this
ring.
clip, yeah. And he goes, she meant nothing to me.
Right. Yeah. That's Monica Bellucci's character that's going to be in the new one. I can't wait. I can't wait.
It's funny that you're excited about that because I've seen people talking about this movie and they're frustrated that a throwaway gag can't be a throwaway gag anymore. It's got to be, now it's got to be part of the lore and you've got to build on it and stuff. And they're like, that was a fun throwaway gag. Why do you have to make that into a story beat? But then at the same time, why not? I not that I'm super worried about the lore of Beetlejuice, but if they have a throwaway gag and then it's like, well, actually a character that does something like that could be interesting.
And
what are you complaining about?
The prediction grosses for this keep climbing.
I'm sure this is going to do very well.
Yeah, and we're looking at a second screen now for that week.
Yeah, which I think you're going to need it.
Yep,
I really do.
I do.
But yeah, so that's happening. Then Ridley Scott says Gladiator 2 is one of the best things he's ever done. So this is his. That's
a hard claim to make. Even from him.
But I think he kind of said that. He said it's the best thing I've ever made. One of the best things, at least. I've made a few good ones. And then he said it's full bore brutal action. So he's
so was the first one.
Yes. But I think he's just excited about this, which makes me feel
that's
good.
Great because when a director is excited about a project, then that's a good sign.
Because you are absolutely your own worst critic. When you make something, you are going to sit down. You got to talk up your movie, right? You got to sell it. That's the business part of movie business,
but
or show business.
For that one, I was perplexed at why there was going to be a sequel. But then seeing the first things I saw in Vegas and it's centering on the fall of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fully in with what I saw, and even the trailer that I have circulating now is enough for me. I don't need to see anything else.
Yeah, me either.
Before I go see it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. The first one is such a miracle that movie got made. I mean, they were writing it as they were shooting it. Everything was up in the air the whole time, and it feels really coherent and intentional.
And films like that don't do for the time it was made, they don't do very well.
Yeah, but it did.
Yeah, that one did.
And Russell Crowe at the time was like, he was the guy you get.
Right.
And he is incredible in that movie.
Yes,
I remember when I was 16, I did an interview with the local paper and they asked me, what actor do you most want to, what actor do you look at and go, I want to be as good as him? And I was like, Russell Crowe. Gladiator and Master and Commander, he's incredible.
See, I've never seen Master and Commander.
I liked it even as a kid, but it did not do well. And Russell Crowe said, we made a movie for adults and people don't like that. And I think he's right. It's not a swashbuckling adventure so much as it is a look at this time in history.
And then I like The Insider, A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
And even the Sam Raimi film that he did, The Quick and the Dead. He's in that.
I haven't seen that one.
Or The other one he did with Denzel, Virtuosity. That's a cool film.
Maybe I have seen that one.
Where he's created out of nanotechnology, and it's a composite of all these different serial killers.
That's a nightmare.
And he ends up in reality, and Denzel Washington has to hunt him down.
Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's ahead of its time.
I think I might have seen part of that on TV at some point.
It seems kind of hokey, but it's actually a fun film.
Okay. I need to go back and check that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like Russell Crowe.
I do too.
I don't. There was that movie he did recently that was like Psycho or Unhinged, and I wasn't like
actually
super.
It's not a bad film,
one, but
I remember the interview that I saw with him with doing Unhinged, and he was scared to himself for like the script and what he had to play. He really didn't think he had it in him to do like the actions of this character.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting to hear that most of the people that do like horror films and that kind of stuff, they don't really like, especially the bad guys, the slashers and all that.
Yeah.
They don't like who they're playing, even though that's what they have to play.
It's a dark place to go.
Right.
It really is.
It is.
Yeah.
So I wish we could ask Heath Ledger that.
Yeah. From what I understand, it wasn't because of playing the Joker that he overdosed. I think it was just an accident from what I remember.
Okay.
But it's been a while since I looked at that whole.
I just still remember when he was first revealed as that. I was like, no, there's no way, and I was so wrong.
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. It was perfect for the world and the tone of what
Christopher Nolan
was doing. So,
yep.
Yeah. New Jurassic World movie. Apparently is attempting to get back to what the original Jurassic Park achieved. One of the lead stars, last name Bailey, didn't look up the first name, don't care, said, I'm on a really, really long holiday in the jungle pretending to run away from fake dinosaurs. No, I'm filming Jurassic Park. He said, I can say that it's written by David Koepp, who was on the first film I went to see with my whole family, and I was way too young. I was terrified. But apparently Variety says that Koepp's script is a completely fresh take, launching a new Jurassic era following 3 adults and 3 teens getting stuck on the island, which sounds to me a lot like Jurassic Park 3.
Which actually,
I love it.
Third one isn't that bad. I avoided that for the longest time. And then people that love movies like I do actually told me it's not that bad. And I went and watched it, and I was like, you know what? You're right. It really isn't that bad.
I love the cast in that movie.
William H. Macy.
William H. Macy's fantastic. And then who's it that plays his wife? It's Tia Leone. Tia Leone's great in that.
Mrs. David Duchovny.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Huh. How about that? And then, even... Oh, Michael Jeter, who is Mr. Udesky, but he's Mr. Noodle.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was such a funny thing. Like, this guy from Sesame Street's a pilot in this movie, and he gets chopped to pieces. That's why they got a new Mr. Noodle. But yeah, no, I have a soft spot for that movie, even though there is a dream sequence with a talking velociraptor.
I forgot about that.
It's such a funny moment out of context, but in the movie, you're just kind of like, well, yeah, he would be having nightmares about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but Lost World has that too when the T-Rex evolves and all the Asians go running from it going, Godzilla!
Oh, I forgot about that.
That's what stands out from the Lost World to me.
I like the bus sequence in the Lost World, but I don't like most of the rest of that movie.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, the first one and the third one, for me, are like my favorites.
Yeah.
I love those. But yeah, somewhere down deep inside me, there is a 5-year-old boy who loves dinosaurs, so I will go see this. But I
remember I saw that film like 3 times the summer that it came out.
Yeah.
Because I saw it twice in the theater and then once at a drive-in. Mm-hmm. The second feature was Dragon, the Bruce Lee story that I really like too. That's a great movie if nobody's ever seen it.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like a concessionist usher at the time and was selling stuffed dinosaurs to people in line waiting to get in.
That's great.
That's
Did you take one home?
No.
Oh, darn.
Because they were so cheap looking. It was awful.
Yeah, well. Have you seen 28 Days Later?
Yeah, I've seen all those. Like 28 weeks later, 28 days later, and then it's supposed to be 28 years later that's coming out.
Yes, so they have wrapped filming.
Is Danny Boyle directing that?
I believe he is.
Oh, good.
Let me see. 28 Years Later, director. Directed by Danny Boyle, and screenplay he co-wrote with Alex Garland.
Because that's Oh, the same guy that wrote Civil War
and directed Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I have trust that this will be interesting.
28 Days Later gave rise to Cillian Murphy. That's what put him on the map.
Yep. I hadn't heard of him until Batman, but I was a young boy. I was a young pup just learning about things.
28 Days Later was this scary film.
And it was shot on like basically a handy cam too. And so it's one of those movies that's like I'm aware of it and I know of its importance to cinema history and importance to cinema history, and I'm not aware of the plot.
And it so takes much from George Romero's like zombie films that the zombies are kind of secondary in that, and the real enemies are like people fighting people like normal people.
Well, no.
And it's military and civilians that are going toe to toe in that.
Are you telling me that the humans were the monsters the whole time?
Just about. The military people were pretty evil in that film.
Ruh-roh. But yeah, apparently they're also they're going to work on the second chapter of a new trilogy as well. So this is continuing on.
Continuing. Okay.
Yeah. Unless I put that in the wrong place.
If it's done well, I don't mind that. I'm always up for a good zombie apocalypse film.
I do love them. I as much as I would love more Shaun of the Dead type stuff because that's my
we're
alley,
gonna have to. There. I think is it the end of this month? I think next week. It's a anniversary release of Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
I love
and
that
movie. I so wanted to play that here, but we just don't have the room, and I don't think anybody would come.
Bummer. Yeah,
I would just sit in there every show and just laugh.
It's such a great movie. Edgar Wright, bless you. Jack Black and Paul Rudd are in early talks to star in a new Anaconda movie.
Why?
Well, it's got a meta twist, don't you know? According to sources, the new story involves a group of friends facing midlife crises who are remaking their favorite movie from their youth. They head to the rainforest only to find themselves into a fight. Oh, gosh, who wrote this? Find themselves in a fight for their lives against natural disasters, giant snakes, and violent criminals. No, this was from Joe Blow, but they are quoting someone else.
So this almost sounds like a horror version of Tropic Thunder.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
So where's Matthew McConaughey and Tom Cruise's character from that?
Look, we'll keep you posted. But as for who Jack Black and Paul Rudd could be playing in this Anaconda movie, details are sparse, but sources mention two characters: a director stuck in his job as a wedding videographer, which is my nightmare, and an actor who did a stint on a police procedural who now sees his Hollywood dream slipping away. Jack Black's definitely the director of those two.
Yeah.
And look, Paul Rudd's hilarious to me. I love Paul Rudd, so I'll see anything he's in, basically.
Yeah, Paul Rudd's finally aged.
Oh, goodness. Okay, last thing. Have you seen the trailer for Y2K?
Yeah, I have actually.
How does that look to you?
It looks fun.
Okay, cool. I hadn't watched it because I saw what's that actress's name? Rachel Ziegler. I saw her and immediately was like, I don't care about this. Like her interviews and stuff have made me, and I don't want to pile on the internet hate. I'm sure she's just as much of a nice person as everyone else, but I have disliked her attitude in everything I've seen her talk about, and I just am like, I don't.
So is she the one doing Snow White?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know if we're gonna see it. I'm sure.
So Y2K is produced by Jonah Hill too, and you
is
can
it
tell.
really?
Yeah. So
I'm not a big Jonah Hill fan either.
I'm not either, but it looks funny enough and stupid enough that I want to see it.
Okay.
And it's generally like when Y2K happens, the machines take over.
Yeah.
And they start making themselves little machines to.
Well, we've seen that before.
We have.
There was that scene in Transformers 2 where the piece of the Allsparks dropped down into the kitchen and all. Yeah. There was the blender with a penis.
Well, even going back further, this looks like Maximum Overdrive.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay.
Without the trucks.
But at the very least, if it's tongue in cheek and it's being fun about it, then
that's what the trailer made it sound like. Is it's not taking itself very seriously. Okay. It's supposed to be more comedic than horror.
Cool.
But there's still some blood and good kills in this.
Well, I'm never against a good kill. Bad kills, of course, we want nothing to do with. The Crow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to watch the trailer then. I wasn't sure if this
Yeah.
would be something that we would be looking at doing. It's apparently coming in December. Do you know anything
Yeah.
about if that's maybe something coming here or?
Probably not. It's
Probably not.
A24 putting it out, which their stuff for us is getting is real hit or miss. It just all depends on, we only have 6 screens.
Right. Yeah.
So that'll be my news now. So release schedule for September pretty much got hammered out yesterday between me and our film buyer. So yeah, next week is Reagan and Afraid. And then week after that is Beetlejuice. Week after
Which we won't be able to pull you out of for 3
I know.
days.
Seriously. Week after that, we're confirming Speak No Evil.
Right.
The McAvoy one, which you and I are both really interested in.
And my wife too. Yeah.
Oh, Hannah's interested?
Yeah.
Even Jessica said too that she'd watch that.
Cool. And probably won't fall asleep in it like she did in The Crow.
That same weekend, the Fathom special event is God's Not Dead, In God We Trust, which is number 5. Yeah, I think it's high up there. And then week after that is going to be Transformers 1. And I think there was something else, but not. Hold on.
Why is it not God's Not Dead? The Devil Strikes Back. If it's the 5th one, like let's start doing Star Wars puns.
Oh, come on. Of course, now is the time.
Episode 6, Return of the Rabbi.
Okay. Yeah, speak to me because Transformers, Never Let Go, another horror film.
Never Let Go. That's right.
The Halle Berry one. Yeah, you need to see the trailer for that. It looks
I
interesting.
haven't seen it, but I'm interested because I think Halle Berry, like, she's had some stinkers in her career, but I think she really does love movies, and that shows in a lot of what she does.
She talked about it a lot at CinemaCon, and she's executive producer on this too.
Sweet, yeah.
So she picked the director, which is Alexander Aja, who did one of my favorite horror films, High Tension, that's really good.
Okay.
And then he did Hills Have Eyes remake, the Piranha remake, which he might want to overlook that one. But even another fun film, even though it's a little stupid, but it's fun to watch, is Crawl. He did that too.
Oh, that's the alligator one from was it 2019?
Yeah, I think
They're doing a sequel to that.
Really?
Yes, there's a Crawl 2, and apparently I think the lead actress is coming back or something.
Okay.
So.
And then week after that is Wild Robot. And then very limited that we're going to have is the Superman, the Christopher Reeve story.
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. Tickets go on sale Monday.
That is a heartbreaking story, but
it is.
But
we're only showing it 2 days.
Okay.
For 2 show times a day. So we're going to have to make it in there. And that's going to have to be part of a podcast that week.
Okay, cool. Well, if you listen to this on the day it comes out, tickets are ready the day after you hear this.
Okay. And then going into October 4th, Joker 2 and Whitebird.
I don't care one way or another about the Joker movie. The first one I felt was it good? Yes. Was it also kind of self-indulgent and self-important? Yes.
I'm interested because even Todd Phillips has said this is going to be more of a musical.
But then I also read that he said they don't want you to think it's a musical. I read that this week too.
They're already conflicting.
It's Schrödinger songs, really. Like,
okay.
I mean, you get Lady Gaga. She doesn't have to do music, but it would make sense if she did some. There's some singing in the trailer, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a musical.
Whitebird I've been waiting for though too. That's been pushed around for over a year.
What is Whitebird?
It's with Helen Mirren, and it's hard to explain. Just a reminiscent of Holocaust and being in Nazi Germany and kind of the people that suffered.
So it's good that I waited to make a joke.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. Wait, no, it's gone. I had a thing I was going to bring up. No, wait. It was The Crow has a weird intro sequence where it starts the movie and then it stops to show you a man bathing in transmission fluid and then goes back. That's all I wanted to say.
You're a little late on that. We're just about over.
My brain's loading like an old computer. It's not catching
Lucy?
up. Yeah. No. No one would ever accuse me of being intelligent. So that's not artificially or otherwise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's bring this to an end then.
Yes.
Goodness gracious, The Crow's bad.
beyond our wildest imagination how bad that. Oh God, I was so mad.
If you did see this, if you did go and spend your time on this movie,
if you really
please
liked it,
let us
I'm
know.
curious to know why you liked it and
Yeah.
what could you cite out of this that you liked. So yeah, please put that in the comments.
Yeah, you can check us out on our social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram at Grand Review Pod, and you can leave
I
your
wonder
comments
if my
and stuff on
ex-wife
that.
will like this
I don't know.
because she liked If and we hated that. So
Well, look,
she won't go see this. I know that for a fact.
if even if has a redeeming quality somewhere in it.
This had none.
This had none.
This
It's-
had zero.
It is at best a depressing look at not even nihilism, but just angry misunderstanding of anything that has to do with what is righteous and what is not. Anyway, the point is, leave us a comment, whatever. All right, we'll see you next week. This was depressing.
All right. Take care, y'all.
All right, we'll see you at the movies.
Bye.
Bye.